All right, let's dive in. If you're a researcher, you know the grind, right? All those late nights, the countless hours in the lab or buried in books. But how do you take all that hard work and turn it into something more? Something that gets recognized on a global stage? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today. Think of this as your guide to what we'll call Scopus Success.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll define what we even mean by Scopus Success. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of picking the right article type for your work, surviving and thriving in peer review, grabbing some essential tools for your toolkit, and finally, mapping out your own path to publication.
And this really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's something every single academic thinks about. How do I make sure all this effort, all this data, actually makes an impact and contributes something meaningful to my field?
So, what is this Scopus Success we keep mentioning? Put simply, it's about getting your research into Scopus. It's one of the biggest and most respected academic databases out there. When you get in, you're not just published, you're boosting your career, your credibility, and your work starts to have a real effect on global knowledge. It's a huge deal.
Okay, so let's start right there, with the goal itself. Why is this quest so important for anyone building an academic career? Let's break it down.
So, why go through all this trouble? I mean, what's the real payoff? It's so much more than just another line on your resume. We're talking about getting your findings out there, actually testing your ideas in front of your peers. It's about making a name for yourself, boosting your credibility, and connecting with people not just in academia, but in industry too. You're literally adding to the world's collective knowledge. And yeah, building up that professional reputation doesn't hurt either.
All right, you get the why. Now let's talk about the what. Our next stop is all about choosing your article type. You've got to find the right vehicle for the research you've done.
And you really don't want to gloss over this part. This isn't just a formatting choice. It's pure strategy. Picking the right kind of article from the jumpstart can make or break your publication journey and gets you started on the right foot.
Okay, so what are your choices here? This breakdown is super helpful. First up, you've got your classic research articles. This is kind of the bread and butter of academic publishing, all about your original new findings. Then you have review papers. Think of these as a summary of everything that's already out there on a topic, but you're adding your own new perspective. These can be huge for getting citations. Next, case studies. These are awesome for showing how theory works in the real world. And last but not least, letters or brief messages. These are perfect if you're newer to the game and have something important but concise to share, and you want to get it published fast.
So you've picked your article type, you've poured your heart into writing it. Now what? Well, now you enter the arena of peer review. And yeah, it can feel like a trial, but it's the process that gives your work its stamp of approval.
You know, this quote really nails it. Peer review is the quality check. It's the system that asks the tough questions. Is this new? Does this actually matter? And are the methods sound? It's basically the gatekeeper for quality in the academic world.
So how does this whole gatekeeping thing work? It's pretty much a four-step dance. First, you submit your paper and an editor gives it an initial screening. Then, if it passes that check, it gets assigned to reviewers, experts in your field. Step 3 is the big one, revision and resubmission. You get feedback, you make your paper better, and you send it back. And finally, you get the final decision, and hopefully publication. It's really useful to think of writing and peer review as two different sides of the same coin. Writing is your creative act, right? It's you presenting your findings. Peer review, on the other hand, is the critical assessment. That's other experts checking your work, making sure it's solid. One's about telling your story, the other is about making sure that story is true. You need both to succeed.
Okay, this whole journey can seem a little daunting, but the good news is you don't have to go it alone. Let's talk about the essential tools you should have in your researcher toolkit.
And that's exactly what these are. You wouldn't climb a mountain without the right gear, and you shouldn't try to get published without the right software. Trust me, these can make your life so much easier.
So what's in this toolkit? Well, you've got writing assistants like Grammarly to polish your prose. You absolutely need reference managers like Mendeley or Zotero, they're lifesavers. Then there are plagiarism checkers like Turnitin to make sure your work is original. You can even use journal finders to help you target the perfect publication. And of course, networking platforms like Google Scholar to get your name out there and see what others are working on.
And that brings us to the home stretch, your path to publication. We're almost at the destination, but it's just as important to think about what happens after you arrive.
You see, this whole thing isn't a one-and-done deal. It's really a cycle of growth. Every time you write a paper, your skills get sharper. And every time you go through peer review, your credibility in the field gets stronger.
Each publication just sets you up to be even better on the next one. So, you did it. You navigated the path. Your work is published. You've reached your goal. Now comes the really exciting part and the most important question of all. What new conversation is your research about to start?